Many of us have wondered just who is Jack Shit. We find ourselves at a loss when someone says, "You don't know Jack Shit." Well, Chuck Norris plays Russian roulette with a fully loaded revolver and wins. Chuck Norris doesn't need to throw out the trash. It always throws itself out. Once a cobra bit Chuck Norris's leg. After 5 days of excruciating pain, the cobra died. When Chuck Norris was born, he drove his mother home from the hospital. When police officers approach Chuck Norris, they say, "We have the right to remain silent." When Chuck Norris goes to a restaurant, the waiter tips him. Chuck Norris can divide by 0. Chuck Norris once climbed Mount Everest in 15 minutes, 14 of which he was building a snowman at the bottom. If Chuck Norris was on the Titanic, the iceberg would have dodged the ship. When Chuck Norris's parents had nightmares, they would come to his bedroom. There's no theory of evolution, just a list of creatures Chuck Norris allows to live. Bigfoot is still hiding because he once saw Chuck Norris walking in the mountains. Death once had a near Chuck Norris experience. Chuck Norris can do a wheelie on a unicycle. Chuck Norris counted to infinity more than once. Chuck Norris once raced with time. Legend says time is still running. Chuck Norris once played with Legos. They are now known as the Stonehenge. Chuck Norris is the tallest man alive because nobody looks down on Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris went outside with his bodyguard. His bodyguard felt protected. Chuck Norris woke up during his funeral to adjust his pillow. Chuck Norris once punched outer space and left a black hole. Chuck Norris doesn't fart because nothing escaped Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris doesn't lift weights with his arms. He just looks at them and they lift themselves. Chuck Norris doesn't go to sleep. Sleep goes to Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris convinced his grandma he was not hungry. Chuck Norris once waved at a blind person and he waved back. Chuck Norris asked Santa what he wants for Christmas. Chuck Norris can separate Legos covered in oil without his fingernails. Chuck Norris once wrestled a bear, an alligator, and a tiger all at once. He won by tying them together with an anaconda. There are no streets named after Chuck Norris because no one would ever cross Chuck Norris. When Chuck Norris plays Monopoly, he bankrupts the entire country. When Chuck Norris was born, he drove his parents home. Chuck Norris landed on Mars. That's why there's no signs of life. Chuck Norris is the only person that can divide by 0. Chuck Norris made a Happy Meal cry once. Chuck Norris learned to read from a book he wrote. The name of Chuck Norris's father is Chuck Norris Jr. Chuck Norris can gargle peanut butter. Chuck Norris in fact uses a stunt double, but only for crying scenes. Chuck Norris is the reason Waldo is hiding. When Chuck Norris goes to a beach, the sharks get a warning. Chuck Norris can make a tomato turn red by looking at it. Chuck Norris can find the end of a circle. Chuck Norris can play hide and seek with himself and still win. Chuck Norris can find a needle in a haystack at night. When Chuck Norris crosses the street, the cars look both ways. Chuck Norris doesn't watch the news. He decides what happens next. Chuck Norris doesn't need a passport. The countries let him in out of respect. Chuck Norris laughed lightly. Now it's called chuckling.